I'm Atomic Productions, and today we're going to be talking about the role that children played in the 18th century. A disclaimer here, we're only going to be talking about children of English descent, so no Germans really, no Swedes, none of that really, no Native Americans either, as I don't have the information, nor do I really feel like doing the research into that. This video is meant as a intro into the wider subject. With our disclaimer out of the way, let us begin our video. So in this video, we will be talking about both girls and boys and their lives as young children in 18th century North America. And a lot of the customs that we see carried over from England itself, and not a lot of customs had actually developed in America specifically regarding childcare. So we'll first start off talking about young boys, then we'll move into young girls. So for the most part, until a young boy was strong enough to help his father out with the large tools required for farming or any other manual labor that he could have done, he would have more so been helping out his mother in the kitchen, with cooking, cleaning, or just doing other smaller household chores. His sister, too, would have actually been doing this, if he had one, except when, instead of farming, when, say, the boy was about 7 or 8, she would help her mother further and learn how to sew, further clean, take care of children, and do all the things that were expected of an 18th century woman in her day. Sometimes, most likely in more civilized areas where trades were a lot more common, a young boy about the age of 7 or 8, instead of becoming a farmer like his father, could be sold off as an apprentice by his father to a tradesman where the son would learn how to become a tradesman and further carry on the trade. This can be things such as cobblers or shoemaking, a blacksmith, silversmith, or anything you could base, or anything that had either the word smith in it or maker. Both genders would have actually worn, funny enough, this is way up until about the early 20th century, both genders would have actually worn gowns, and they would have been dressed in dresses to where until the point where a wet shift or soiled breeches weren't necessarily a concern. Or in other words, basically, until they were toilet trained well enough, they wore gowns of linen, cotton, wool, basically just any fabric they could find. And then from now on, after a boy hits probably about the age of 6, his mother says, "You know what? Screw the dress. Here you go. Dress like your father now." But now, you may also be asking yourself, after hearing about all this work, did they have any fun? And the answer is yes. Yes, they did. Children in the 18th century had a wide range of toys and games to play, and there were even publications for older children who knew how to read that were basically guides to fun or guides to games, and some of those do still exist today. Toys were commonly found among 18th century homes with children, just like we see in modern day. They could be things such as dolls, wooden swords, not real swords, ball and cups, yo-yos, just any little knickknacks that children enjoyed playing with. A lot of those actually have origins in the 18th century. Children in urban areas of the 18th century did receive an education, as did children in some rural areas, but it really depended on if there was a schoolmaster or not. If there was a schoolmaster, then usually in the later months of the year, or the parts of the year where children weren't necessarily expected to help their parents as much, they might attend school 2 or 3 times a week, where they would learn English, arithmetic, and any sort of other things that would be essential to 18th century life. Now, actually, contrary to popular belief, a decent amount of 18th century people were literate, and the literacy rate was on the rise. So no, 8th grade history teachers. No. People weren't stupid and didn't know how to read. It really just depended on the education that they received. So I believe this wraps up our video. As always, I'm Flintlock and Tomahawk Productions, signing out.
Hath old England of folly and sin, spited Chatham and Camden, Mary, Burke, Wilkes and Glynn. Not content with the Game Act, they tax fish and sea, and America drenched with hot water and